Hey, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Fox.
And today we were going to review Jack Frost, but we did your one better. So this movie fucking sucked.
It was an ordeal.
It was bad. It was bad. It was on the same level as Howard the Duck for me, but I did make it through this one.
I will say that it's worse than Howard the Duck. We don't see any duck titties, but there is a lot of talk about snowman balls.
A surprisingly large amount of snowman sexual contact.
Yeah.
And an entire snowman rape scene.
Yeah, well, the snowman isn't being raped, he's doing the raping.
So, take that how you will.
Badly. You should take it badly. Happy end of the year. This will be posted on the last day of the year.
Mm-hmm. It's been a year.
Congratulations to everyone who's still here. What a movie to end the year on.
I feel like it's appropriate for the year that we went through. I feel like it's symbolic of the pain and suffering that we had to deal with.
Yeah, I can see that. I would have rather... I chose this movie. I love bad movies. I love bad horror movies. That's where I get my jollies. I enjoy it so much. I can't quite explain why. But this gave me the opposite of enjoyment. I think it sucked, like, joy straight from my soul. Like, from the reserve of joy that you have in your whole lifetime.
Yeah.
Because of this movie, there's some sort of happiness that I will not be able to achieve now.
This movie was 90 minutes. It felt like 3 hours.
Oh, God, it did. It dragged, especially the, like, climax after climax.
The movie fucking ended and then it kept going for another 20 minutes. Like, it was weird. Like, it had a full ending and then it just kept going.
It had an ending, it kept going, it had another ending, and then it finally rolled the goddamn credits.
Not before teasing a sequel, which apparently did come out, but we're
happen.
not watching it.
It did happen. Judging by the the poster art, I feel like it takes place in, like, the Bahamas or something, somewhere nice and tropical.
I read the synopsis of the movie. And yes, he's on vacation, he's on a beach vacation, so it is in, like, a tropical place. And Jack Frost is going to find him somehow.
Amazing. So let's discuss, what's the word? Let's summarize this train wreck. Do you want to do it? Shall I?
You can go ahead.
It's too hard for you to bear, I know it. So Jack Frost is about a serial killer. He is supposed to be killed, electrocuted, death penalty and all that. And instead, the vehicle crashes into a government secret genetic sort of vehicle. That's a terrible explanation.
The government is, and this is not explained until 30 minutes before the end of the movie, but the government is trying to create something, a kind of like a biological, not like a weapon, but like a thing that will encode DNA into certain materials so that people can be revived after they're died many years in the future. And Jack Frost is doused in this, and he melts into the snow.
And he becomes a snowman.
And it makes the government scientist who created this very horny.
Yeah, no, he was definitely horny for Jack Frost.
And there was a whole 5-minute scene about this scientist learning about what exactly happened to Jack Frost and screaming about how the soul exists and all this other bullshit.
Which doesn't even really make sense, like, from the own movie's logic. But let's get back to the summary. So he gets doused in this, he becomes a snowman, and he decides, well, hey, fuck it. I'm going to go murder the small town cop who found me out and brought me to justice.
And to be clear, Jack Frost is in full control of his new body. He can move around, he can melt and then reform. He's not dead. He's not even like, his DNA is not even encoded and he's revived. He is instantly this super being snowman.
Yeah. And so he goes to this small town after Sam, the officer, the sheriff, and just kills a bunch of people. And sometimes it's funny.
Most of the time it's just weird.
A lot. It's bad. Jack Frost looks bad, and I know that this movie was late 90s, but even for that time...
Was it?
Yeah, it was late 90s.
I thought it was 80s.
Oh, no. It was like, I want to say 97. Oh. Regardless, this was late 90s, and it looks bad. Like, first of all, it's obvious that there's fake snow everywhere.
Right, they did not film this during wintertime. They probably didn't even film it in a state that gets snow.
That would not surprise me. The snowman outfit, especially when it's up close and he's killing people, I mean, you can tell that it's not snow, it's low-quality fabric of some sort.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And through the first half of the movie, Jack Frost talks, but they never show his face when he's talking. So you're like, oh, they don't know how to do this, so they're doing their best to avoid it. Turns out that's not true. In the second half of the movie, they do show him talk, and it's horrible. It is horribly done. They set up this whole thing. They waited for the payoff, and the payoff was garbage.
It's fantastic. Something else is when they're having these close-ups of Jack Frost doing something with his snow body, it's done so poorly that it's really hard to make out what he's doing. Like at one point, he pushes a teenager over so he can get decapitated by an oncoming sled. And for like 5 minutes, I did not understand what had happened.
Yeah, it was really bad. Though his initial plan was so the sheriff's kid had his hand in Jack Frost's mouth without realizing that was just like a normal snowman, and he was just like doing like little sculpting things, and Jack Frost like grew teeth, and I thought he was gonna bite the kid's hand, and then he never did.
Yeah, that's a cop-out. Like, come on, maim the kid.
You showed the teeth even. Like, there was, like, if you're going for tension, there's enough tension that we know he's a snowman, and the snowman wasn't built by anybody around here. And the little music sting and whatnot. Like, we know it's Jack Frost. You don't need to show the teeth if he's not going to bite.
He never bites, by the way, that I can recall.
Not once. Something happened in the production of this movie. I'm not sure what, but something happened. That like when they were like halfway through shooting this movie, that caused like a full rewrite. Like the writers just like completely rewrote it, or like a bunch of footage was scrapped and had to be replaced, or something. Something happened in this movie because the first and last half of this movie are very different in tone, and like the first half sets up shit that doesn't happen in the second half.
There is a disconnect. I didn't really look into the production history of this movie, mostly because I'm so disappointed. I was expecting something so bad it's good, because I had seen the cover with Jack Frost's face, the poster.
Right.
All my life, somehow never watched the movie. But like I've said, I'm into these movies. I love going into weird horror shit. I love like Ginger Dead Man, the Evil Bong movies. It's multiple. But this is just, Troll 2, that's actually one of my favorite movies.
Oh, boy.
I'm not ashamed of that. Maybe a little, but that's fine.
Oh boy.
But Jack Frost, it just feels it feels kind of soulless.
Yeah, yeah. There's not a lot going on. Like, well, let's continue with the recap.
Right, right. I
So
forgot that we still had more to go because not a lot in actuality really fucking happens.
but stuff does happen. So Jack Frost starts killing people. There's a couple of kill scenes, and then the government scientist and like a high ranking officer or like a bodyguard or somebody.
Wait,
I don't remember what his whole deal actually
he
was.
was hired by the government. He's like a cleanup man sort of deal.
But he was in a CIA office, and it looked like it was his office.
Yeah, but what the
Or
guy
maybe it was
hims-
FBI. I think
the
it was
guy
FBI.
the guy himself even said, or like hinted, like, I was hired by. I'm a contract, FBI contract or whatever.
It's weird. It's unclear, but it doesn't matter that much. So they go in to contain Jack Frost and eliminate the threat. They try a couple of things, and it doesn't work. And some really stupid scenes happen. I feel like I could describe them, but they don't matter, and recalling them in detail hurts. But they tried to stop him, and they failed, and they run away from him for a little bit. And then they finally have the bright idea to apply some heat to the snowman.
I can't believe it took them like over an hour to realize heat melts the fucking snow. So maybe.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and I just okay. So in the first half of this movie, part of why I also said like the production stuff was probably fucked. The first half of the movie, there's several scenes where one of the main guys, this like shopkeep, who's just like who's been showing up in scenes, he brings several bags of rock salt to like various different characters' homes. He just does it over and over, and that's not a super unusual thing to happen in the area. I grew up in the Midwest. It's very snowy. Having salt that you can put on your driveway to prevent snow and ice from forming on them is very useful. It's a thing that a lot of people get. So it's not unusual. But they keep showing those scenes. It's not just a throwaway scene to set the setting. It happens like 4 different times, and one of them is the lead-in to discovering a body. It just keeps happening.
And not to mention, like, he even brings it to Sam's house, the sheriff's.
Yeah.
Like, it's set up as a thing.
And then nothing happens with it.
It's a Chekhov's gun that just stays there on the wall.
Right, and I was like, oh, they're going to use the salt, they're going to put it on Jack so that he can't form into a snowman, effectively killing him. Like, because like they already showed how he can freeze himself and melt himself without problem. So it's like, well, they have to have a way to keep him in this kind of melted state. Why don't they just like load him up with salt so that he can't, so he has to melt and he can't freeze himself. And like that would have been interesting. It would have been cool, but like nothing fucking happens with it.
Instead, do you know what kills Jack Frost?
We're getting ahead of ourselves, remember? Because that's the second ending.
Well,
The
yeah,
first
let's
ending
go to the first ending.
Is that they lead him to the furnace under the converted church that's now like a city
Community
hall or a
center
community
sort of
center. They lead him down to this furnace and throw him in the furnace. And that was supposedly kills him until the melted snow goes through the pipes and he drips out and reforms into a snowman and kills the government guy and his lackey and wears the scientist's skin and tries to like walk out, but he's like walking all weird. That was a funny scene because he just eventually because like he walks right by Sam and Sam's like, what the fuck is going on? And she's just like, fuck it. He doesn't bother, and like that was a cool scene.
That was a good gag. But you know what? We missed one. We skipped talking about one of the endings because of like the hairdryer thing.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
No, but before the hairdryer thing, I'm sorry. He follows them. Jack Frost follows them into the sheriff's building.
He follows them into the police station, and then
with some aerosols and some fire or whatever, they blow up the building with him in it.
but Jack survives.
Right, he survives. So that's
So that's
red
like the
herring
first
ending
red
one.
herring ending, and then the second
And then
red
it's the
herring
furnace.
is the furnace. Also, an important note: one thing that was set up is that so Sam's kid made him some food, but apparently he's just really horrible at cooking. So Sam is like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally eat it," and then he takes it, and then he throws it away, digs through the trash to take it out because he feels bad, and then keeps it in his car for the rest of the movie until the very end, where Sam's kid was Sam gets the Sam's kids whatever he made paste.
They were cookies. It was cookie dough.
Was it cookie dough?
Yes, he was making cookies.
So he kind of like as like a last ditch weapon because Jack has him cornered in his car. He like throws it at Jack Frost and it hurts him. It like actually hurts him. Like he melts in like a way where like Jack like bleeds and there's flesh and shit. And so Sam asks his kid like what was in that, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't want you to be cold." And I swear to God, that was the thing. So I put in a lot of salt. I thought that's how they were going to turn it back. I thought it was going to have a bunch of salt, which was going to make it disgusting, and then tie into the whole thing where they need the rock salt to kill Jack Frost. I thought that's how they're going to do it. Because that's also like a very normal thing for a kid to fuck up when cooking. Mm-hmm. Instead, the kid put fucking antifreeze.
Antifreeze!
In the fucking cookies!
That kid is going to be a cop killer.
And so they this
is not like a 5-year-old kid, by the way. This guy, this kid was like 8 to 12.
Something like
that. I can't
yeah.
judge children's ages, but like you're at that age, you're old enough to be taught antifreeze is not something that you ingest.
And so they set up this whole stupid plan, and Sam lures Jack into up through this building so that he can jump out with him into the awaiting truck bed of antifreeze. In the process, though, Jack stabs Sam in the stomach and in the shoulder, and Sam has open wounds, and then he dives into a vat of antifreeze. So Sam's gonna die.
Oh yeah. That's bad. That's gotta hurt.
That's real bad.
But then, Jack's arm falls, off of the side of the truck bed, and the fucking dumbass kid picks it up. And
he just holds it. He just holds it for the fight.
And so, Jack is, trying to kill the kid now, so they grab the kid and just fucking baptism in antifreeze. I was about to
say, they full dunk him into antifreeze. And by the way, both Sam and his kid definitely got at least one full gulp full of antifreeze.
Oh yeah, no. They're poisoned now, and they will die.
Sam will die in several ways.
Yes.
But so then it's oh, I'm happy ever after, and they bury they pour the antifreeze into the bottles that it was originally taken out of, and then they bury the bottles. And then there's a little tease of oh, Jack's not really dead, and then whatever, and then credits roll. It's a bad movie. There's scenes that are funny, and there are scenes that are not meant to be funny that are funny, but there's so much of this movie that was incomprehensible or unnerving and not in an interesting way, or I asked so many times what the fuck is going on, because the scene transitions were horrible. You would not understand what was happening. You would jump so harshly from scene to scene that you don't even know where you are.
This movie at certain points feels like it's trying to subvert expectations, but it doesn't do it well, and also it doesn't do it throughout. And so it comes off as just weird and bad writing.
It's real rough. It was a slog to get through. It was a slog.
Something I did like, when it opened up for the opening credits, we see a tree with ornaments on it, and it's this uncle telling this story to a young girl about Jack Frost, the serial killer, and how it's okay, he's going to be murdered by the state.
Which is the lead into the scene
Yeah.
of the crash, except that opening narration has actually nothing to do with the story. Like, those characters are not characters. They don't show up again.
It's also unnecessary because, like...
all the information is either recapped or shown in the movie.
And it goes on for way too long. And
solid 10 minutes. A solid 10 minutes. And I believe that they put that in there to cross the 90-minute mark, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to show it in theaters.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason why it's there. There's no other reason.
There are a lot of scenes that feel padded out. They were unable to make this movie, like to see the movie on its own merits as a full motion picture. So they had to pad it out because they didn't know what to do. Like when we're meeting all the townsfolk, it's miserable. It's so long. The characters add nothing, zilch, and nada.
Yeah.
Except so many comments about snowman balls.
Yeah.
So many. And yet we never see a snowman ball.
Yeah. They never
Like a regular snowball, yeah, but we don't see Jack Snowdick.
It's implied.
Oh,
it's implied in the rape scene.
I mean, it's implied, but like the only character we're seeing is on his nose.
Yeah.
You like that?
So I did confirm this really quick because I thought I remember saying this. We said it was 90 minutes. It is literally 90 minutes. It is exactly 90 minutes. They extended this as much as they possibly could just to eke out that 90 minutes.
It's like when a student has written an essay last minute. And, you gotta get, like, at least 1,000 words. But it's like, you don't really know the topic. You only have a vague thesis. Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of pushing it as much as you fucking can. And when you squeak out at, like, 1,000 words, you're done. Doesn't matter, you're done. You're turning that baby in.
Yeah, it's oh, boy.
At least you're getting points for completion.
Yeah. This movie sucked.
I don't want to be completely negative. I
will be completely negative.
I'm finding it hard to find positives, but I'm trying. I know it's got a good cult following, and I can understand that. I can't feel the same, and my disappointment is astounding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else that I'm sure it's either them trying to subvert expectations and failing, or, through all, like, the weird production issues they must have been having, it just got pushed aside. But when we're meeting all the townsfolk, it's at this very sad and pathetic looking snowman making contest.
Oh, well, that was another thing they set up and never, because I didn't even realize that they didn't follow through on that. They had a snowman that was completely covered. They had like a curtain up and everything. It was completely hidden, but it was it was like the center piece of the snowman thing. And like, it's a snowman competition. There's there's like the big one that's completely covered. I said several times when we were watching this, like, that's gonna be Jack Frost, or he's gonna take its place. They're setting this up. They don't. It doesn't come up.
There's even a moment where, like, one of the main girls, young woman, she even, like, gives a cheeky little peek into it and then closes it real quick and giggles. And it's like, oh, yeah, she's going to be murdered by Jack Frost here.
Not only that, but the guy who was giving salt to everybody, when he witnesses the murder, he goes to the snowman competition and starts destroying the snowmen there, but they don't go do the one under the curtain.
That's true. That's right.
So it's another fucking hit to movie. It doesn't go anywhere.
And, like, even at the end of the movie, like, you can see that snowman covered up, and it's like, why?
It's still there.
You
Nothing
didn't
happens.
even use it for suspense or anything. That's just bad storytelling. That's bad cinematography.
It's not used for suspense. It's not used for subversion. It's not used as a joke. It's just there and nothing happens.
And it's weird, right? It is weird to cover your snowman in, like, this little tarp thing, in this plastic.
It's the only one that's covered. None of the others were hidden at all. They were all being built in plain sight in the middle of this courtyard.
Right, like, if it was on all of them, that would make sense. It'd be weird, but it would make sense.
Here's the thing. Anyways, I'm okay with background details being like a thing that had come up and then nothing really happens with it. I'm okay with like there being cheeky little things that nothing really happens to. They put this front and center, literally, and they brought attention to it several times, and then nothing happened to it. That's the problem. That's the problem I have with that. It's the problem I have with the salt. It's the problem I have with the fucking... Like, I don't understand what the whole fucking deal was with Jill and, like, going into the sheriff's house.
Oh, right, we didn't mention, so...
Let's not spend a lot of time on this.
Right, we'll just say, like...
Jill's entire family dies, and she doesn't fully realize it, and then she
knows
goes into
her brother's dead.
She knows her brother's dead, and then she leaves the house right before the rest of her family die, and she doesn't know it, and the sheriff's out doing stuff, so she decides to fuck her boyfriend in the sheriff's house, and then dies for it.
Yeah, no, it makes no goddamn sense.
And she's the one who gets raped, by the way. She's raped by Jack Frost.
She's raped to death.
And then he makes a joke about it.
Yes, yes.
So that's this movie. It's bad. It's so bad. It is painful.
And so all she knows is that her brother very possibly could have been murdered by the sheriff's son. And so she sneaks into their house to have sex. What? Listen, I know we all grieve in different ways, but what?
She wasn't grieving. She was, like, very specifically, people were trying to get her to grieve, and she wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
That was talked about in the movie.
Yeah.
That was talked about in the movie.
I mean, like, we all handle things in different ways, but why? What? What the fuck?
We're gonna move on to our revisions, and then we're gonna fucking never talk about this movie again because I'm sick of this.
Do you know what I hate? I mean, besides this movie, the fact that, like, part of me really still does want to check out the sequel.
If you do, I will not watch it.
Oh, no, I would not. I wouldn't put that on you, baby.
Alright, so here's our remakes.
I assume I'll start just to get me out of the way.
Might as well.
So, do you remember last episode where I didn't want to change too much?
Oh boy.
Jack Frost is absolutely the complete opposite.
I would hope so. I mean, come on.
I mean, I want to change basically everything except the genre and the fact that there's a snowman.
Yeah, that's a lot right there already.
There are some things that will be the same. Like, I like the opening where an uncle is telling a young kid the backstory. I want to keep that, only make it so much shorter. And on screen, I want more ornaments and decorations that maybe correlate a little more with the story. Like an angel ornament with a cracked face or something a snowman looms above. Or maybe some stuff that foreshadows later events. Just give more visual interest to the opening credits instead of just standard Christmas decorations.
That's fair. Or we could just remove the opening credits. It's not really necessary to be there at all, but, it's up to you.
I mean, that's fair. Maybe we don't even need it, but I think it's a cute little touch, just like a little nod. As for the meat of the movie, I don't want to follow Sam the sheriff or his bland wife or his annoying kid that tries to kill him. Jack's whole hatred of him is sort of tenuous, and not much is really done with it in the movie. So instead of following the cop who caught him, let's follow the victim who got away. They're going to be non-binary because it's me. Someone has to be a flavor of queer. And they can still be named Sam, just as like a little throwback. So the film opens up, we see Jack become a snowman, then change scene to our protagonist who's visiting the small town they grew up in to visit their mom. They're still reeling from the fact that Jack is dead, meaning that the ordeal is behind them. They're just trying to focus on helping their mom, who's doing a lot to make sure the town's Christmas festivities go smoothly. So in the movie, we spend a long, uncomfortable time with Sam interacting with townies. I still want to have those interactions, but less cringe-inducing.
That's an easy bar to hit.
I like to think so. You
Yeah.
cannot get worse than everyone talking about snowman testicles.
It was bad. Every interaction was bad. It's one of those things where like I know I've complimented a lot of movies about like having good character interactions, and this was the movie that reminded me, yeah, that's not a universal thing. There are times where it sucks ass.
And while they're going around town, we're going to get fun, ominous POV shots watching them. Really ramp up that tension instead of everything just grinding to a halt so we can see these townies that don't fucking matter. The first victim is that old man whose death we don't actually see, and frankly, in the movie, it's really hard to see why everyone thinks he's murdered.
Yeah, I mean they do eventually show like that like because they don't show the body immediately. Like they kind of like show in like weird angles, you can't see him fully. They do eventually show that like his head is like tilted back a bit too unnaturally and various and like little things, but it's like you wouldn't jump to the conclusion that there's a serial killer here. Like it would be like this is probably somebody who just got like an old man who fell asleep out in the cold and died, which is a thing that happens, or something fell on him or something. Like you wouldn't jump to somebody killed this man. It would be an accident.
Right. And here, I want our Sam to go to the edges of town where this old man is to bring him some homemade cookies from their mom or something. They find him dead, and it looks weird, but it's just plausible enough he just died of exposure. Maybe fell asleep outside at night and froze. So Sam calls the cops. This isn't a period piece, so she uses her cell phone. I just want to make that clear. I don't want this set in the 80s. No, this movie was the 90s. I'm so sorry. I'm so used to choosing 80s movies.
Yeah.
This was the end of the 90s. We're just having this modern times. I just want to make that clear. So meanwhile, Jack is still there. Now, he's going to stalk Sam, but not yet attack. He wants maximum suffering for Sam. And now that he sees them and for sure knows their whereabouts, he can take his time. He can really fuck with them. And since this Sam doesn't have a wife, they're going to have a guy they grew up with who's real happy to see Sam again. Obvious love interest material. And after he comforts Sam and makes sure they get home, make sure, they're home safe and everything, Jack immediately kills him. I want just that quick little shock factor of, oh no, he's dead. The movie was unable to properly subvert expectations, and I want to rectify that. Meaning the love interest, yes, is brutally murdered in Sam's front yard. Preferably with a quip like, that's what happens when you're an ice guy.
Oh, fuck you. I thought you were going to make this movie better.
No, we have to. Well, yes. But we're also going to have a few quips, a few little puns, some ice puns, some snow puns. Just snow testicles. It's technically an upgrade.
I'm so upset. I'm so frustrated.
Well, I said preferably, We can leave them out if we must.
Just do your thing. Let's get this over with. I've suffered enough.
So from here, we get the town freaking out. Sam is convinced Jack is back. And the scientist and FBI mercenary or whatever he was, arrived to town. They'd be interested in Sam, probably realizing Jack is there specifically for revenge. So they'd be trying to, track Sam and be like, hey, why don't you stick with us? Next is just a barrage of Jack Frost killing people around town that Sam has interacted with. Fun, over-the-top deaths, someone dressed as Santa shoved inside a chimney. Maybe someone killed by evil snowballs. Jack makes eyeballs into Christmas ball ornaments. It's just a fun holiday winter-themed murder spree.
This is way more creative than the actual show gets already.
It absolutely is. And, that's what this movie needed.
So this is fine. It's the puns that I'm upset about. Let's make that crystal fucking clear.
I'll make a micer next time. Oh, and I'm gonna go ahead and not include the played for laughs weird rape scene.
Yeah, that's a weird one. That's an odd one. I don't like that
Also,
one.
no horny teens breaking into a house to have sex in it. We're gonna just take that off the table.
It's also weird because like nothing even comes to that. Like we don't even see in the original movie, we don't even see Sam go back to the house after that happens.
It's funny.
None of those characters return to that house after that point in the movie. So then none of them run into those characters. Those characters die and nobody finds them.
That is very funny. They're gonna go home in the morning after burying Jack and be like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to think about. So also, I'm going to bring in the ice salt that the one guy was delivering around town. Instead of him getting arrested, Sam is going to get his help to spray Jack with salt and to spread it around the community center or wherever anyone is in town that they're bunkering in. You know, it keeps Jack out along with the heaters and blow dryers they have if he tries to snowball himself in. But of course, it won't last forever. It weakens him, but you know, he's still got a bit of power. And not to mention that they can't just stay there forever. Like, they'd have to leave the one little place.
Right.
I'm thinking for the big finale, Sam will run out to distract Jack while the salt guy sneaks over to his store to grab a bunch of antifreeze. There's a lot of chaos and quips, ice puns. Sam yells something about breaking the ice.
Oh, God.
I wish everyone could see the absolute pain on your face when I said that. And it's still lingering there. It's so good, so delicious.
It's never gonna leave me.
Just like me.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have a concrete idea on how exactly everything goes down. The Fed, mercenary, and scientists probably die in the process. Maybe Sam's mom even gets involved in the fight, like how Sam's wife got like one brief moment to hold a hairdryer. Hell, maybe that's how anyone gets the idea for hairdryers and heaters, because she uses it on Jack a little earlier, you know?
Right.
Have her be more of a reason to exist.
Yeah, for sure.
So Sam defeats Frost, it's a happy ending, minus everyone who's absolutely dead. I don't know if they would bury the antifreeze bodies that killed Jack, but otherwise, pack up the decorations. That's it.
That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little more. I don't know. I think you may need some scenes to kind of like. I guess the murder of the townsfolk could take like a good chunk of the movie and kind of fill out like the rest of the time you need. It's pretty slim, but yeah.
I mean, so was this movie.
Yeah, but like, you know. I think you could pad it out enough to like hit that 90.
Oh yeah. Like this isn't going to be a movie like it's not the Batman. It's just Jack Frost, a snowman, a serial killer, ravages a town.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's funny, it's horrific, it's gory.
And that's okay. It can just be that.
It's just some good campy fun with special effects that actually look good.
Yes, which is a hell of a lot easier to do nowadays, and for a lot cheaper too. So yeah, no, I like that. I think it is as I said, it's a lot more creative than the original movie. But again, that's also a pretty low bar.
Yeah, it's a very low bar, but I like to think I leapt over it.
You did, yeah. I would say you did a good job.
Thank you.
As you know, I mean, I am going to call the Hague to put you on work run for those puns. I think you did ultimately do a good job.
Thank you.
So in terms of my fixes are going to be pretty similar actually, because here's the thing: we've ragged on this movie a lot, but ultimately there's a kernel of something good in there, and the problem comes down to I suspect it comes down to production issues. And I think it's core production issues, not just in a lot of things went wrong when they were shooting it, but also partway through when they shot it, they came up with like a different movie or something happened or they had to recreate stuff and they ended up going in a different direction. That, I think, is what crippled this movie in a pretty bad way. So what I would primarily focus on is not necessarily changing the movie, but reviving the ideas that they play with as much as I can. Now, obviously, I'm not. I have no contact with the writers, with the director, with the people involved in this movie, so I don't know if any of this does match what they were intending. Maybe this movie was what they wanted, and it just sucked. That's a very real possibility. But
It's very sad.
but like, if you watch the movie, you'll see what I mean. Of like, something happened. Like this is not like, this was not like a plan that was followed perfectly, and it created what they wanted to create, and it happened. The idea was bad. There was something that happened that fucked things up.
At some point, I think budget ran out and they scrambled.
I think that's definitely part of it. So my focus primarily, so there's a couple of things I want to kind of rein in on this movie and really dig into. One is I want more direct back and forths between Sam and Jack Frost. They don't happen nearly enough. They happen a few bits, but they just don't, like, it doesn't happen enough to establish and pay off that, like, that dynamic. So that's going to be a big one. I think having that, like, creeping kind of like killer turn into a very sudden, sadistic, in your face killer is a good move. And I would definitely go with that. I would want to keep the way that you deal with him pretty simple, because we don't need to get into bullshit about super soldiers and like living memory, like biological memory and the soul, and
We don't need a long speech about that.
we don't need any of that. We don't need to understand what happened with Jack Frost. The explanation, like, I don't even necessarily want to see Jack Frost die and then turn into a snowman. It's not important. The explanation could just be his spirit went into a snowman. Like, that's just how some stories are, and it doesn't need to be more than that. And the way you beat him can be pretty straightforward as well, which is, Salt would probably be a good one, trying to make sure that, like, because the ultimate problem, like, normally you could just, like, heat him up and turn him into water and kill him that way, but, like, you're in the dead of winter in the Midwest, and, like, you're in a pretty rural area. There's no way you can confine Jack in an area that's going to get consistent enough, high enough heat to keep him as a liquid to kill him. There's no way that's going to happen. Like, fucking indoors is already fairly chilly in those kinds of places. I've been there. And you're rural, you're having power issues regularly. It's not going to happen. So you can't just heat him up. You can't just do that, because even if you pointed hair dryers at him, you can keep him away from a place, but he would just run away, So salt helps, but you have to, it would be like, we know how to defeat this guy, but we have to trick him into a place. I think, like, tricking him into the boiler room and using that, like, locking him in there and then killing him that way, I think that's a great solution.
Yeah.
And then the question ultimately becomes, how do we get him down to the boiler room? He's not an idiot. He knows what these are. He knows how this works. How do we make sure he gets in there and then kill him before he can get out? And so, like, having these very simple things, I don't want it to be a revelation on how to kill him. I want it to be like, do we have the ability to do this before he murders us all? Which is a much more interesting question, because that's always up in the air. Right. Even if you have, like, I've got a plan, like, it's still up in the air whether you'll succeed. So, like, it should be focused on simpler things. It should be focused on, like, character dynamics, good character dynamics. It should be focused on, like, Jack is this ultimately this force of nature, but he's not an invincible one. He's not a super soldier. The only reason why he's a force of nature is because he is willing to do anything and everything to kill everyone around him. He just happens to also be a snowman.
Right.
So I also want to again lean into this is a dark comedy. Let's lean hard into the dark comedy. Now I don't want to go puns. I think that's a bit much, and I'm not a war criminal. So, I'm not going to go down the pun route, but like there is an inherent comedy to a snowman, like to like there's the horror of somebody uh, bursting into your home and slaughtering your family, and then there is the punchline of it's a fucking snowman. That's funny. It's a horrible joke, but it's funny. We need to lead into that energy hard. We need every one of these kills to be silly, but the deaths need to be taken seriously.
Yes.
That's the direction we need to go here. And it's so like I loved the idea of like trapping somebody in a chimney, plucking out their eyeballs and hanging them as ornaments. Like those are great ideas. Lean harder into that. And so it should be very, very simple. We're not going wild here. This should be a predictable, straightforward, creepy plot. We're not dealing with super soldiers. We're not dealing with the soul. We're just dealing with a guy who happens to be a snowman who's killing a bunch of people. Open, shut. We're good. We don't need anything more than that. And keep it a 90-minute movie. Just add a few more scenes of direct back and forth with Jack and Sam, and I think we're good. So, I mean, that's really all I can think of in terms of change. There's not really much change there. A lot of this is in the base movie. This is why I say there's a kernel of good. It's just, this needed to be done right. They just need to take these ideas and do them actually right. And then let's also remove some of the legitimate bad ideas that they had, which were the snowman rape and the snowballs and the, various other little things. And, just keep it simple. Just keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Well, I like it. And so really what it boils down to is there's not a snowball's chance in hell of puns. All right, folks. Well, this is fun.
I almost just opened my water and upended it on you. That's real.
I would have deserved it.
I legitimately, it took me a solid 10 seconds of actual thinking to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because it would make the chair you're sitting on too messy, and I don't want to clean that up.
Well, thanks to this chair for saving me. But yeah, I mean, it's just these simple little things, these simple little elements that can be, remixed into something really great, really fun. The movie, it missed its mark, but you can still see what it was aiming for.
Absolutely. And I think that's what made me so frustrated watching this. I think that's why I had such a harsh reaction to it. I get more upset at movies that are almost good than movies that are straight up bad. This is why it's like close to Howard the Duck for me with like Howard the Duck, because like Howard the Duck, like, it's just a bad movie. I don't think that, like, obviously we talked about our fixes, but like I don't think that like you could take Howard the Duck as is and salvage it. You would have to basically make a new movie out of it. But this, it's right on the cusp. It's right there. It's just enough things got fucked in the structural integrity of it, and now it's unwatchable. And that's such a fucking shame.
I can't get over just how bad Jack Frost looks. Like, your whole movie edges on this one character, and you don't put more of your measly budget into this guy. It's bad.
It's a shame. It's a real shame. So, yeah, if you're involved with Jack Frost, honestly, I legitimately want to know. Give me a play-by-play of that, of anything you remember from that production. I am fascinated. I may even, like, if there's like director stuff, I may look it up. Like, I want to know. So if you have been involved, if you were there, if you know, get in touch. We're on Twitter, which is slowly running down, but we are on there still currently. And we also have the email, did ya YA1 the word 1 better at yahoo.com. So reach out to us on Twitter, on email, leave a comment, anything. Want to know what happened. Sounds fascinating how this became a train wreck.
Who would win in a fight? Jack Frost from the movie Jack Frost that we just watched? Or Jack Frost, the bad father from the other late 90s movie where Michael Keaton gets turned into a snowman by the spirit of Christmas or something?
As much as I love Michael Keaton, I feel like ultimately he would lose because he would hesitate. Like, there would be a close battle for most of it, but like he would hesitate in a critical moment, and then this Jack Frost would like spike him through the heart.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So
it's tragic. That's why this holiday season, don't hesitate.
all right, we're done. We're done. We're out of here. We love you all. Bye bye.
Bye everyone. Have a good 2023.
Yeah.
I almost said the wrong year.